look, we all know that everything we want is right beyond the part that we are afraid of. If we can get past that fear, then number one, we'll get what we want. Number two, we'll never have that fear again.
Hey friends, it's Steve. Want to know how a $5 book lands a $5,000 client? I've recorded a 15-minute video showing you our magnetic author method. It's up now at magneticauthor.co/video. Welcome to the Unstoppable CEO podcast. I'm your host, Steve Gordon, and we got an amazing interview for you today. This is a multi-repeat guest, which it's just so much fun when we have folks back. We don't do it very often, but when we do, you can be sure that it's always the best guests. So today I'm talking with my friend, Mitch Russo. If you don't know Mitch, he started a software company in his garage, sold it for 8 figures. Then he went on to build a company to over $25 million with Tony Robbins and Chet Holmes. He's been nominated twice for Inc. Magazine Entrepreneur of the Year. His book, Power Tribes, How Certification Can Explode Your Business, helps readers create new business divisions and spin-off companies and all kinds of great things using high-performance certification programs. He's got software that he's developed for coaches called Client Folio, which that really fills a void in the coaching software marketplace by helping coaches make their clients a lot more productive and help them track accountability, which is really a huge thing for anybody that's trying to coach their clients to higher performance. And his newest book, which we're going to talk about today, Coach Elevation, really blueprints his entire process for helping clients find their true purpose and then connect that purpose to their true mission. And that is what accelerates progress in their business and in their personal lives. And so I'm excited to dive into that today. Mitch Russo, welcome back to the Unstoppable CEO podcast.
Hey, Steve, thanks so much for having me again. My goodness, I feel like I should pay rent on this show. I'm here so many times.
This is, I think, the third, maybe the fourth time. I don't know. You're up there with most guest appearances. So
that's great.
Great to have you back.
Thank you.
So give us an update. I think last time we talked, we talked a little bit about Client Folio, which is your new software company, and
right.
Give us a little update. And you've got a new book out. How does it all fit together?
Sure. Well, the software came about because as a coach, I had been running a fairly busy practice, and I was struggling with trying to keep up with my sessions. And so I think I told the story last time. I bought 5 different coaching software platforms. I dove into them all one at a time and tried to learn them. And maybe it's my ADD or something, but I just couldn't get it. I mean, I spent hours on videos. I still couldn't figure it out. And then one of them, as soon as I turned it on and loaded my client list, it started sending my clients emails that I didn't even authorize. And so I said, oh my God, turn this thing off. I got to get rid of this. and after 5 different products, I said, you know what? I don't see anything that would work for me. And my system is somewhat unique. I work really, really heavily on accountability and goal tracking. As a business coach, it's easy to give advice, but it's hard to get your advice implemented. And I would feel bad. I'd work with the client. They'd pay me a lot of money. I'd give them great advice, and then they didn't do anything. And I felt like, wow, I wasted my time. They wasted their money and time. But what would be the game changer there? And it had to be accountability. So I started using the accountability that I learned back from Zig Ziglar many years ago, listening to his audio tapes in the trunk of my car. And then I implemented goal tracking, which is something that I did many years ago at Timeslips Corporation. And it was reinforced when I was working with Tony Robbins. We did goal tracking basically for every division. So finally, I rolled all this into one product, and that was Client Folio. We launched that 18 months ago, and it keeps evolving. Just last week, we released a brand new advanced group coaching module for those running masterminds and groups. But the thing that I realized that I did, they talk a little bit about unconscious competence. I'm sure you've heard that term before. Unconscious competence means we're doing something that we take for granted or don't even realize we're doing that has some benefit or value to others. Well, for me, I was engaging new clients in a series of short questions that would help align who they really are with the business that they're building. Now, this might sound kind of like, duh, of course you would. And that's how I felt about it. Like, of course I would do that. Why wouldn't I? But I didn't realize that not everybody doesn't do this. So what I decided to do was I decided to standardize the process. And I've been using this for over 10 years, but it was really in the last 2 years that I had refined it down to a 20 to 25-minute process. And I created a series of steps that if anybody were to just simply practice 2 or 3 times and begin using the steps, the first thing that would happen with any client that they brought into their coaching organization as a client, that client would immediately, over that period of 30 minutes, find, discover, and then connect their true purpose to the work that the coach was doing with them. It sounds so simple, and frankly, it is. It's really a very short book. It's only 100 pages. And bottom line is that, everybody listening to the show can get it for free. I know you have a link there that you could share later. But the bottom line is that this is a process that really everyone can do with any coaching client that they have.
That's phenomenal. The fact that it can be done in 25 minutes, you've clearly boiled down some greater wisdom into a package that has a lot of impact and a lot of power. And I would love for you to kind of walk us through the process and how it plays out.
Sure. Well, now there's a piece to this that I didn't mention yet that's important. And I'm going to take you through the process right now, Steve, if you like.
Awesome.
We could find your true purpose. I have a feeling you already know what it is, but here's the piece that we didn't do. We should have done in advance of the show. There is a process, a discovery process from the Y Institute. The Y Institute has the YOS discovery, and you have to go to the site and pay about $39 or something to take the quiz. I can give you guys a coupon for a 20% discount. If you remind me before the show, I'll post it in chat for you. But here's the point. When you do the YOS quiz, it tells you your why, your what, and your how. And this is very helpful because once we find our true purpose and then we connect it and attach it to our why, then what we're doing now becomes clear. So let me take you through a very simple process. Now, Steve, I know that you're a very successful entrepreneur, but if it's okay with you, I'd like to wire $10 million into your account in the next few minutes. Would that be okay? Do you mind?
Where can I give you the details to wire it?
Okay. Well, hold on. I have it right here. Okay. All right, Steve, I just wired 10 million into your account. So what I want you to do, besides having a big smile and saying, thanks, Mitch, besides all that, what I want you to do is I want you to think about something. Everything that you've done to this point in your life has revolved at some level around making money. Would you agree?
Most everything. Yeah, I would think so.
Well, that's most of us. Most of us live a life where our daily activities are pretty much around making money. But the question I have for you is, now that you are a decamillionaire, you don't need money right now. You may not need money ever again. So what I'm going to ask you, Steve, is a simple question. What are you going to do with your life right now? I mean, after you spend 6 months on the yacht, vacationing in 5 different countries, and now you're back home and you're sitting here in your new home or whatever situation that you chose to create for yourself with this new wealth. What are you going to do with your life?
It's an interesting question. There's a really good chance I would be doing exactly what I'm doing right now.
Okay, that's good. Why would you be?
Well, I was just going to say, because to me, business is the most interesting game and puzzle to solve. And I like working with other business owners and helping them solve a little piece of it that we help them work on around their marketing and their book. It's absolutely fascinating to me.
Sure. Well, why is that?
Gosh, I think it taps into a part of my own curiosity. I get to see in a given month 24 different businesses and how they approach things. And you learn so much from that.
Sure. And why is that important?
I always learn something that I can apply to what we're doing to improve what we're doing, both in
Okay.
our business and for our clients. So it's just, I don't know, it's sort of this virtuous circle of learning and then applying the learning. And
But after you do that, I mean, after all, you're doing it and it works the way you do it. But why do you do that?
well, I like to see our clients win, you know.
Ah, okay. So that's a great answer. So what I'm hearing is you like to see your clients win. Well, how does that feel when you see your clients win?
Oh, it's fantastic. It's, I was just on a call before we connected with a client who'd had a big win. It's, when everything works and it all comes together, it's just a very satisfying feeling.
Yes, of course it is. And is there a feeling that is better than that feeling of helping other people really win at what it is that they're doing?
To me, that's what it's all about.
Okay. So would you agree that the thing that you love most is helping others?
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Okay. All right, good. So what we just went through is a very simple process of connecting you to your core purpose of helping others. Now, you knew that, and I know you knew that, and a lot of people know that, but the feeling that you just brought up right now at the fifth level of my questioning is now the piece that we didn't have before. So let's take that feeling of helping others, the feeling of getting off the phone, having someone say, "Oh my God, thank you so much for the help you gave us, Steve, and the amazing difference that you made." Now, remember, you don't need money anymore at this point, right? Well, assuming at this point that you now know that your true purpose is helping others, what else could you do that would enable you to help others other than what you're doing now?
Wow. I mean, there's the answer to that is there are an infinite number of choices. I could do many, many things.
Okay. Pick one, even if random, it doesn't matter.
Sure. So, one of the things that my wife and I are really focused on working on and building is developing a way to help feed people who aren't being fed every day. And
Okay,
I don't know what that looks like yet, but we're working on it. And yeah.
Well, let's say we advance time a little bit. I have a secret wristwatch here that I could turn the crown on, and it brings time forward about 6 months to a year in particular situations. So in this case, let's go 6 months into the future after you have created a foundation to help feed others, and now you look back, you and your wife together are standing there looking back to each other's eyes and saying, "Oh my God, you realize that we've just fed 1,000 families over the past year." How does that feel, Steve?
When I think about that, I mean, to me, it's such a small dent in the problem, but an important one. You and I've talked about this before.
Right.
You relayed your conversation with Tony and how you thought you had done such a great thing, and he said, he'd fed so many millions of people, and at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter how many millions are fed to the
Right.
to the one that gets fed, right?
Exactly. So we're really clear on one thing, and with you, it's been very easy because you're a person who's done a lot of this inner work already, and I think many of your listeners probably have too. So we know for certain that your true purpose is to help others. But here's the problem: you can't tell somebody what their true purpose is. They need to discover it. They need to have the feelings that you just experienced and the feelings that all of us in the audience experienced listening to you say those things. Because now what we're going to do is connect that to your true purpose. So for a second here, now you didn't do the why discovery quiz. So I'm going to take over and use mine because I already know what mine is. So my why is to find a better way. Now, there are different types of whys. Other people's why might be to simplify. So how does this change my life? Well, first of all, I know that I can help. My goal and purpose in life is to help others. And the way I do that, my why, is to find a better way. So anything I do to help others by finding a better way changes their lives and changes my life. So turns out, as a coach, and I, as a business mentor, and strategist, I get to do this quite a bit. And the fact of the matter is that it can pay very well if I choose to charge for that. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But the most important thing here is that I am basically connecting my why, which is the same as yours, to help others, and my true purpose is the same as yours, to help others. My why is to find a better way. And now when I connect those two things with my how, which is through challenge and creativity, and my what, which is through trust, the picture starts to become very, very clear. So I know that I can build trusting relationships. I know that one of my core assets is creativity, because I knew that instinctively, but the test was able to show that to me. And I know that my constant, like you, curiosity always pushes me to find a better way. And by the way, it's a great characteristic to have unless you're in conversation with your wife and she says, honey, can I talk to you? I want to share something with you. And you say, sure. And then she starts telling you her problem, and you, having a why of finding a better way, wants to solve her problem. Well, Steve, 2 marriages later, I can assure you that is not the right approach. But I will say this. I learned my lesson. It took a little while. I get it. However, now what we've done is we've combined some very simple tools into one very, very clear direction. Now, Steve, if we're going to write a book together, you and I, and you're my coach, and you're going to take me through this, do you think you have a better idea of the purpose of my book, and maybe even what that book might mean to others and to myself, simply by having run this process with us? And we're only on the phone for 22 minutes total since the show started.
Oh, absolutely. So, I mean, I can see applications in almost any business to this process.
Right.
If you're working with clients, getting to this level of understanding with your clients now gives you a roadmap to help them in anything, in any particular domain where you're helping them.
Exactly. Well, this is just a small part of what's inside the book, Coach Elevation.
Love it.
And the reason I say it's a small part is because this is really just the beginning of a journey. And we're on a journey where this life is a journey together. We're going from place to place as a planet, as a person, as a community. I'm not sure if you know the circles of life. You're an individual, you're a family, you're a community, you're a city, you're a state, et cetera. Well, we're all on this journey together. And the more aligned we are, the more fun the journey will be, the less aggravation we'll have being together and walking this journey as a group, as I said, as a family or as a community. But more importantly, as a coach, when you're working with a client, if you begin any type of work with this process, and I demonstrated how easy it is. Now, I've done this many, many, many times, hundreds of times. So there are a few inflection points that I'm looking for that we don't have time for me to explain every one of them. And of course, you were an easy subject. So harder subjects, people with a little bit more unpacking, would need a little bit more help to get to their true purpose. So the book does explain that. The book does lay that out. And more importantly, what we're really here to do is we're here to build a business. So part of what the Coach Elevation book is to not just create a true purpose process, but to elevate the coaching experience for the purpose of creating better testimonials. And what do better testimonials do? I mean, listen, you're the guy who invented the referral business. So better testimonials help us attract better clients, higher paying clients, and at the same time are the highest quality sales vehicle you could ever employ. There's no higher quality sales vehicle than the words of another about you. Would you agree with that?
Oh, without a doubt. I'll tell you, Mitch, the one really interesting thing about this approach, why I think it is so impactful, and why I know that it creates these sort of rabid advocates for you as your clients, is that you get to a depth of clarity, like that you get to a point where you've pushed through all of the surface stuff to get someone to a point of clarity that very few people ever take them to. And it's very interesting. You're right. I have done a lot of this work, but I've done it in concert with some trusted advisors. And those are people that I'll likely do business with the rest of my career, the rest of my life, because they were able to take me to that point of clarity. That's the power in this. And it seems so simple, but the amount of value that you can create in, 15 or 20 minutes is really immense.
It is. And when you do this with someone who you are truly trying to help, and there's by the second, third, sometimes I go 6 levels deep, but typically by the third or fourth level, we're getting past the fluff. We're getting past what I call the BS, and we're getting to the real issue. We're getting in many reasons. What we're uncovering here is why someone's failed as well. And, the results that I've had with this simple little process is I've had CEOs of very large organizations break down and cry that for the first time, they never really realized what their true purpose was or connected it to what they were doing. In fact, I had another, I won't say exactly who it was, but I had one of my clients happened to be a sports team star. And he, for the first time ever since leaving professional sports, realized what his true purpose really was, and then built a business around that. And to this day is now all over social media, is an incredible success. I'm not bragging about my success. I'm trying to make the point that if you unlock this small component of a person's belief system and dig down into what they really are and who they really are, then anything is possible. But here's the best part. It eliminates friction. Now, when you work with a client, I don't care if you're a yoga teacher, you're a health coach, you're a business coach, you're a relationship coach, it almost doesn't matter. Because once you break down these barriers and find a person's true purpose, connect it using their why to who they are and what they're doing. Heck, I've even had one person abandon the business that they paid me to help them build to start another after we completed this process. And like I said, I've been doing this. I didn't even realize, I thought everybody did this. I didn't know that people didn't do this stuff. Thought it was kind of important that everybody does this. And I mean, it was really, for me, the cement really gelled for me when we added the YOS process directly into, because that quickly allowed us to connect a person's nature to their true purpose. And that's what the YOS process does. It really uncovers your nature. And that, which is really what you're naturally inclined to do or be, and how you're inclined to do it. So once we put those things together, now it really streamlined the process, and it got results that again now work every time. And so that's in essence what the book is about. But then really what the purpose of the book is about is to help a coach build their coaching organization. And we go into the organization and the management of coaching, and we go into the session management as well. What does a session look like? What does it really mean to hold someone accountable? Are you willing to basically hang up on a client, if you will, who shows up unprepared for a session? Because that's what I've done. I won't say hang up on them, but I've terminated the session 3 minutes into a paid session and said, I'm sorry, you didn't do your work. You're not prepared. You paid me to hold you accountable, and you are not doing the work. So we're not meeting. You can rebook. And I hung up. Well, that person was quite upset at me, and they paid me a lot of money to be hung up on, and then told me how upset they were and blah, blah, blah. And a half hour later, I got another email from the same person. He said, I just want to say I'm sorry for the way I reacted. You're the only person in my life who has ever held me accountable. And so this is the job of a coach. If you're not willing to make hard decisions, if you're not willing to push a client to the point of past their own fears, past their own issues, and get them to perform and do the work. Look, we all know that everything we want is right beyond the part that we are afraid of. If we can get past that fear, then number one, we'll get what we want. Number two, we'll never have that fear again. That is my belief. I've proven it to myself. I hate to say it in a way that sounds hokey, but I welcome fear in my life at this point because it's an indicator as to what I need to do next. Well, Mitch, I'm afraid to hold a 5-day summit. Well, Steve, you're holding a 5-day summit. That's what I got to do next. So, I mean, those are the things I used to say. I said to Tony once, I said, Tony, I'm afraid I don't know. I've never really spoken on a stage this big before. He goes, well, okay, well, then you're up next. And I ended up, I mean, this is kind of what I think you need to be able to do. And you need to be able to confront this part of yourself. And part of it is understanding it. Part of it is finding it. And then we get into the beautiful components of what does it look like to build a coaching business that could actually make you wealthy, as opposed to a coaching business that could kind of make you a nice living or will allow you to quit your main job to be a coach. That's fine. I think a lot of people would like that, but I want to go beyond that with my clients anyway. I want them to become a wealthy coach. And part of that formula is in this book. And we talk all about not just session management, but multiple coach management as well, because that's important. But none of this works without finding your true purpose first.
Yeah, for sure. I love that approach. And as you're describing it, really, I do see the application in so many areas. Certainly your main, tribe is the people who are putting themselves out there as professional coaches. But, in a lot of the work we do, we're coaching the client through a process. Accountability is a huge thing. And a lot of the financial professionals we work with, the legal professionals we work with, they're all having to coach their clients through something. And accountability is a big part of that, and setting and achieving goals is a big part of that. Talk a little bit about, you mentioned goal setting kind of in the beginning. Talk a little bit about the importance of setting goals and then kind of tracking progress towards them. What's your approach there?
It's very, very straightforward. So in a first session, when I'm with the client, and once we go through this process, the next thing that I normally do is I build the blueprint for their business. I use mind maps as my process. And in that mind mapping process, we're identifying key drivers. So I'm looking for 4 to 6 key drivers of their success. What will push them forward if they do the same key drivers every single week? And then we build a dashboard. And that dashboard is basically like a spreadsheet inside a client folio, so that when my client logs into their client portal at the end of our sessions, they get to enter their own stats on a weekly basis. So their next step is they enter their stats, and then they have accountability questions. So the accountability questions work hand in hand with the goal tracking to make sure that they are staying focused on what's important. So in a session, if a client says to me, well, yeah, I really got to recruit 3 more people this week or else I'm not going to be able to make my numbers, then one of the accountability questions is, are you working on your recruiting this week, or have you recruited 3 more people this week? Now, that accountability question will basically change because you can have as many as you want every week, because if they accomplish that, we just simply move another one into the list, and they have to answer that one too. But again, every week they must log into the client portal, which is a part of Client Folio that their clients receive when they send homework. And in there, they enter their stats for the week, answer their accountability questions, can review their entire past homework, entire session. They can listen to the recording. And inside the portal is even a way to ask the coach a question so that you don't have to go through email to do so. So the goal setting process has another very important purpose. And as a coach, I'm sure you'll understand this. The goal setting process is to show your client the amount of progress they've made while working with you. Now, years and years ago, and it was in 2008 or so, right before I started really ramping up with Tony and Chet, I had a client and I helped them a lot. And he wasn't a very nice person. Didn't have nice words. At the end, he said I didn't do anything for him, and I had grown his business 40%. And I knew I had, but I had no way to prove it. I had not taken notes. I had not kept track of his stats. He had not kept track of his stats either. He wouldn't agree with me that he had made progress. He was just being argumentative. But I said, that will never happen again. And so I then started using a spreadsheet. And I had a multi-page spreadsheet for all of my clients with tabs and with columns. And it was getting a little out of hand. And I said, this is getting to be a management issue now. Because now the spreadsheet kept getting bigger and bigger. And now the tabs are, if I miss 1 week and I don't ask the questions, now I'm taking the client's time to ask them the questions. So I'm doing $10 an hour work during $1,000 an hour time. That's not fair. So that's why I had to build a system to do this, because ultimately I really want to focus on my client's success. I want to make sure that I am only doing the things that truly have an impact on their lives and business. And I want to make sure that they know it.
Very, very key. Very key in keeping that relationship going for a long, long time, because people forget that the progress that they've made. It's easy to focus on where the problems are and not give yourself credit for the progress that you've made.
Well, it's a little hard to deny it when you're looking at a set of graphs, the bar graphs that basically show you your progress over the months that you've worked with your coach, and they all usually are all heading up in the up direction. So, I mean, that's a pretty good sign that that you're doing the work as a client. That of course your coach is on top of that, making sure that you are. So that's a big part of what coaching is about. It's not my favorite part, which is really why I decided to take it off my plate and put it onto the client's plate. And that, by the way, is more effective anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm sure it is. So, Mitch, how can people find the book, and how can they find more about the software if they need that sort of tool for working with their clients?
Sure. Well, the book, you can simply go to coachelevation.com and download the free book right here. Or if you prefer, you can go to Amazon, look up Mitch Russo, get the Coach Elevation book on a Kindle. Or if you prefer the paperback version, like I just showed you, you can grab it on Amazon as well. And then, of course, Clientfolio is just that, clientfol.io. And that'll basically get you to the sales page for signing up to become a subscriber. And Clientfolio is for coaches. So if you're a coach and you're not using it, you probably should.
That's great. And the book really will help anyone who's working with clients, it sounds like, but specifically coaches.
Yes.
But I think anyone working with clients will find a lot of benefit from it. I love the approach. Thanks for giving us a demonstration of it today. I think those are always more effective, and it's just awesome to kind of see you bring this clarity to people. It's so important. So, Mitch Russo, thanks for being here. And folks, we'll link up the book, we'll link up the software, everything in the show notes. So if you didn't get that down, just look in the show notes, either on your podcast player or over on our website. Look for Mitch Russo's episode. Mitch Russo, thanks again for being here.
My pleasure, Steve. Thank you.